let me give you a few thoughts on Jamal Pettigrew. So we learned this over the weekend that Jamal Pettigrew, rising senior tight end from LSU, has entered the transfer portal. This should not come as a really big surprise. We talk about it often that if you are at a place like LSU for 3 years and you haven't really made a dent, chances are you're going to wrap up your career elsewhere. It's not to say that you don't see a Garrett Brumfield every now and again who waits his turn and doesn't really get on the field till his senior year, but when he does, he has a chance to ball out. That's just the exception, not the rule. Miles Brennan is the exception, not the rule. Typically, guys don't sit around for 3, 4, 5 years waiting their turn to play. So you look at Jamal Pettigrew, and this is a guy who, man, was a 4-star coming out of St. Aug, 6'7", 254, and I really wish Pettigrew had been able to stay healthy in 2018. 2018 really was Jamal Pettigrew's opportunity. Steve Ensminger had just become LSU's offensive coordinator, so Pettigrew is a tight end, had his tight ends coach now as the OC. Thad Moss was eligible in 2018, if you remember, but Moss kind of never really got healthy that year, that first year that he was eligible. And there was this big, giant question about whether or not he was really trying to get out there and play or if he was slow playing things or whatever it may be. So 2018 really was Pettigrew's opportunity, but he tore his ACL. And so he missed the season. And then we know what happened last year when both were healthy. It was Moss who emerged and had the best receiving season for a tight end in the history of LSU football. So Pettigrew, while he played in all 15 games, only made one catch for -1 yard and kind of got knocked down a rung as well. The other part of this, too, is Pettigrew is in some respects, I hate to use the word throwback, but he's a more complete tight end, kind of like Moss in the fact that he can go catch the ball, but at 6'7", 254, you can also put him with his hand in the dirt on the end of the line, and he can block for you. But it's pretty obvious where LSU is going with that position. And so, look, Pettigrew could have had a big 18. He got hurt. That sucks. It's just bad luck. Last year, Moss has the big season. Pettigrew plays, but doesn't really have a chance to make a big impact. So you would think, all right, now, senior year, you're healthy. It's your opportunity. And in comes the highest-rated tight end in the history of 24/7 sports in Arik Gilbert. The Gatorade National High School Male Athlete of the Year, the number 5 overall prospect in the country in the 247 composite at any position. Here comes Gilbert, and Pettigrew is knocked down a rung again. So you kind of feel for the guy in that respect, but it's also why you typically don't see a lot of guys wait, right? So I do think, though, one thing that this indicates is that the hype for Gilbert is very much real. The fact that you're 2 weeks into football school, right, doing just team, like walk-through team activities, and clearly Gilbert is getting those reps. I mean, we've heard Ed Ogeron talk about him and how they expect Gilbert to be used like Linehan used Megatron in Detroit. But ultimately, if you're on the field and you're running reps, and it's one thing for coaches to say, we really like this guy and we think he's going to make a big impact. It's another when you actually get on the field and the freshman's out there running with the ones. And as a result, the rising senior tight end, 2 weeks into football school, decides he's entering the transfer portal. I mean, remember, typically you see these types of transfers in that first couple weeks of camp. Do you remember in 2018 when the LSU started fall camp, you had Miles Brennan and Lowell Narcisse and Justin McMillan and Joe Burrow. And then what happened? They got through the first couple of weeks of camp and everyone realized it was Burrow. And so Narcisse and McMillan, within 2 days of each other, transferred. Typically, this type of news comes down then. But because this is kind of an unorthodox offseason where you have this sort of football school on-field work already happening, I mean, a lot of those dominoes are falling already. And you see the writing on the wall. And that's that Arik Gilbert's the high school national player of the year. And he's a freak show, and he's going to be an integral part of what LSU does offensively. And for Jamal Pettigrew, he's just the odd man out. So, you know what I hope for Pettigrew? I really hope that he has a massive senior season wherever he goes, similar to what happened with Jazz Ferguson. Jazz came to LSU and was just in a logjam at receiver with a bunch of guys that were going to play in the NFL. And he decided for his senior year or his junior year that he would transfer, and he ultimately goes and he sits out and he goes and plays a year at Northwestern State in 2018, and he has 66 catches for 1,117 yards and 13 touchdowns. Guy finally got his chance to go ball out, and he was awesome. And he went undrafted, but then signed as an undrafted free agent with the Seahawks. He got his opportunity to get on the field and play. I hope the same thing for Pettigrew. I hope he finds a spot where he can get on the field, be a big impact guy in his senior year, and get a look at the next level. So it's hopefully going to be a win-win for everybody. Pettigrew will get his opportunity to go play somewhere and to play really well and get on the field and be an every down guy. And Arik Gilbert will emerge in this offense that seems like it's pretty much tailor-made for him and for his skill set. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.